Alright, what is going on, everybody? So I've been getting a lot of questions about what camera setup I'm running this year. So I wanted to do a quick video about what exactly my camera setup looked like. Now what I've got going on right now is I've got my old camera running right now, and if you've been paying attention to a lot of my videos, all of my videos actually, I'm sure you could probably tell a slight difference in the overall image and clarity and depth of the image, everything along those lines with this slightly older camera. I used it last year on all my hunting. It did a fantastic job, but boy, there is definitely a difference between my new camera and my old camera when it comes to overall picture clarity and depth of the image and everything else that goes with it. Just overall quality is hands down better. So let me dive into the actual parts of my camera setup, and then I'm going to show you what all it looks like put together. So the camera itself, I'm running the EOS RP. That is the camera that I've got going on, the Canon EOS RP. And it is a full frame camera. It is one of their more affordable full frame cameras, hands down. It's definitely got some pros and cons to it. One of the biggest cons that I find is overall battery life. Battery life is not very good, if I'm going to be really honest. So something I did is I bought this Powerbase Edge power bank, and I put this onto the bottom of my camera. I plug in not only my camera, but I plug in my wireless lav mic system into this Powerbase, and it runs all day without having to change my batteries. It is fantastic. This thing will last days, even in super cold weather, without having to even recharge it. I mean, it's fantastic. I'm super impressed. So when it comes to the camera itself, I bought it with a kit lens, which is a 24 by 105 millimeter RF mount lens, which is the Canon's full frame lens. But the deal with this particular lens, it's a little bit cheaper lens, and it didn't have the zoom capability that I was looking for out of my lens when it came to actually being on stand and hunting. This is fantastic for all of my interviews. I use it a ton. It's a great little lens, but it didn't have the performance I was looking for actually being in a tree. So I went and bought this EF mount 70 by 200 millimeter lens. Now, here's a trick with an EF mount lens, is that you have to have an adapter. This is made for older model cameras and crop sensors, where this RP is a full frame sensor and it runs an RF mount. So how I got around doing that is I bought this EF to RF adapter, and it's really simple. All it did is go on the back of your camera, click into place. That's all it is, just a little ring, just the mount adapter. Now it added maybe an inch in length overall to my lens length, which honestly is not a big deal. I love this lens. It was fantastic. It is weather sealed, so I didn't have to worry about it with a little bit of drizzle and rain. The overall focal length, the control here, you see what little bit I have to control? It goes from 70 right here and all the way to 200, and just a slight change in wrist. Just moving my wrist just ever so slightly, I can go all the way to 200 millimeters. And the problem with a lot of the RF mount lenses is that you travel a long ways, okay? So if I did the same way on this 24 by 105 lens, the same amount of movement with that lens, I would get to 105, but I had to move slightly further, every bit so slightly. But the problem is, the moment you start getting to the bit bigger lenses and these RF mount lenses, that they extend, they're not quite as weather sealed because it exposes the inside of the lens just ever so slightly. So it's not completely enclosed like this EF mount lens. So that's another reason I went for it. You know, as deer hunters, we got to be very conscious of the weather and making sure our stuff's weather sealed. And even though the RP and all my audio gear is not weather sealed, I can keep it covered and then keep my lens out of the cover and still operational. I can still operate my lens with my hand when the rain cover is behind it. So that's really simple. And then with that lens here, just click it on into the camera, boom, you've got the camera set up with my EF 70-200 lens. So that's the hunting setup right there. Overall camera image and battery. Now let's get on into the audio. This was something that I really wanted to make sure that I did a good job with this year compared to last year. Where right now I'm running on my old shotgun mount mic, and it did a fantastic job. When I'm running interviews, this camera's 2 feet away from me and the shotgun mic is facing me. When I've got that set up, it collects perfect audio. The problem is at the moment you turn that shotgun mic away from you, you actually completely lose voice audio. So if I'm behind the camera, you're not hearing anything of what I'm saying. So I went ahead and moved. Obviously you'd need a shotgun mic. So I moved to the Rode NTG2 shotgun mic. Fantastic mic. It had a lot of great audio, very clear. It is fantastic. I got the one with the XLR input, and it was a very, very great mic. I enjoyed it. And the biggest thing that I really wanted to do was I ran a wireless lavalier mic system. This is the Comica wireless lav mic system, and I ran it together with my shotgun mic in sequence into an audio mixer. Now the reason I ran the wireless lav mic, when you watch my Kansas buck hunt, you really could tell what it was all about. You could hear me whispering. You could hear me breathing, and it really pulled you into the moment. And that's why I went with that lav mic, is because it just brought the realness into the hunt. I could be behind the camera and you hear my voice, and it did a fantastic job. And then I ran it in conjunction with this audio mixer. Both of them were XLR inputs, so I just got an XLR audio mixer. This one has volume controls on the back, which was very important to have, and I just hooked them all together. That way this goes right into the camera. It pulls the audio from the shotgun mic and it pulls the audio from the lavalier mic and puts it all into the same video, so I don't have to do any kind of editing and matching up audio on the back end, where, you know, if I were to run a separate, voice recorder, those are great also. That's a fantastic option. I have when I use it when I run just my GoPro. But the problem with that is I have to match up the audio on the editing side on the back end, which just adds some work overall to it. Which isn't a huge deal, but it just streamlines the efforts in editing when you run them together on an audio mixer. And then overall, I just had a handle that I would put on top of my camera, and that's where I would have the audio mixer on one side, shotgun mic on top, and then I had an easy carry handle for me to be in the field. So I'm going to get this all put together, and then I'm going to show you what it all looks like. Alright, so here's what it looks like all put together. Yes, it looks like a lot. It kind of is, and it's kind of heavy, not gonna lie. There's a lot to it, but there's a reason for everything on this. You've got the entire audio system set up. I've got the lavalier mic receiver on the side screwed into the audio mixer, and then it's plugged in. I have the shotgun mic on top of the handle, cord wrapped around, plugged into the mixer. So the handle itself I can completely take off, and my whole audio system is off the camera. My Powerbase power bank is on the bottom, very low profile. Obviously that mounts directly to my fluid head. And then you just got it right here. You have to make sure now with this camera weight, you have to make sure that you're running a quality fluid head. You can't run a regular video head because it just doesn't have the strength in the backbone to control a heavier camera. That's the biggest catch that you've got to go here. And this takes a lot more weight. It's just the way it is. This camera's a lot heavier. And so what did I use to actually control the camera, my camera arm? I used the 4th Arrow stiff arm. I've had that for a long time. It's done a fantastic job. I run a 4th Arrow fluid head. This is my first year running that because I upgraded my camera. I also needed to upgrade my fluid head. So I did that. That did a fantastic job. And then I used their ultralight base. I think it was their Talon base, if I remember right. I think that's what it's called. And then I had my wireless lav mic transmitter on person. It was on me, and it was running all day. All of this was running all day, especially my wireless lav mic system. And then for my second camera angle, I just had my GoPro hooked up above me. That was plugged into an external battery source as well. I just had that rubber banded onto the back, and I had a giant SD card in that GoPro that I think it was 400 gigabyte SD card, so it had a ton of space, and it just ran all day. So just in case I was unable to actually get the deer on film with my main camera, I was still able to capture my movements and everything that I was doing in the tree. And I used just a simple mount onto a limb, or I used the 4th Arrow outreach arm, which after seeing this year how that video went, I definitely will be sticking to my outreach arm because I just like that more distant look. I like that wider angle, and that the original mount that I was using this year, it was just too tight to me in the tree. And you could see that in my Kansas buck video, it was just too tight. It didn't show a lot of what was going on. So I'll be moving that and sticking with that from now on with that outreach arm. But this is my camera setup for all y'all want to know. It is a very solid camera setup. It was not cheap, but it was also not $5,000 and way out of range for those that want high quality professional footage without the ultra professional high dollar price tag. So I hope that answered any questions. Please don't ever hesitate to send me a message. Drop down in the comments. Let me know if you have other questions about what I do when it comes to my self-filming and setup, and overall just questions that you have. There's a lot of folks out there self-filming. It is not easy. It is a lot of work. It is very difficult, but boy, it's rewarding. I really enjoy it. And as you can see, I've been fortunate enough to get some very good footage, but it sure comes at years of practice. It takes a long time, and the better you know your camera, the easier it's going to be to self-film. So thanks for watching, y'all. I will see you on the next video.